My grandparents are Dutch immigrants in New Zealand, and in the 1970s they had a caravan that they took out camping to a rural part of the North Island for a little family fun camping trip. My mum and siblings would have been 10 or younger at the time. They were way out in the middle of nowhere near a lake in the rainforest, and after the kids had gone to sleep, my grandparents had stayed awake a little while just reading and having a cup of tea. They started hearing strange noises, like footsteps outside and twigs breaking, maybe a hushed voice, but they thought they were going paranoid. They were getting a bit freaked out at this point, but assumed it was nothing, and they'd be safe. Grandpa told me he couldn't go to sleep and suddenly heard a definite footstep right outside the caravan door. He peeked out the window of the caravan and it was completely pitch black with no moonlight whatsoever, but he could see the glowing cigarette of what must have been a pretty tall man standing right at the door of the caravan. He could still hear other footsteps too, even though whoever was smoking this cigarette outside the door was standing dead still. He told me he'd never been so scared in his life, but he had to do something because he had his wife and 4 little kids sleeping inside the caravan. So he grabbed his butcher's knife, he was a butcher by profession, Lord knows why he had it on a family camping trip, and opened the door to confront or yell or do whatever he could to scare the people away. But when he opened the door, he saw no one and heard no noise. He thought he was going crazy, but he saw the cigarette butt on the ground outside the door, freshly finished. He got into the car straight away. He had everything ready to go luckily because he'd already planned on beginning driving early the next morning anyway, and drove everyone away, finding somewhere else near a town to stay instead. About 2 years ago I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night and the drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and trees on either side, the real creepy ones you see a lot in movies. Anyway, I had been driving about 45 minutes and I was starting to get really tired. You know how sometimes you just suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt I could park and safely sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. I pulled over to the side of the road onto the grass behind some bushes to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. The roads weren't empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22 and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock. 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time it really freaked me out because the sound didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running away into the forest. Now, at the time, I thought it was the damn hook killer. You know, the one that scratched that couple's car and then slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate. Fuck that, I thought to myself, so I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a fucking car parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door open. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, Hey you, get the fuck out of your car, now. I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. I never saw the guy again. Moral of the story? Don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road. One time, I was at a haunted asylum taking pictures and there was some cool graffiti I wanted to catch, so I took a photo of Anubis. But when the flash went off, I saw a black hooded figure with a scythe instead for an instant. I tried recreating the moment for my friends who weren't near me at the time, but it didn't work. So was it a cool piece of graffiti that changed or something else? I don't know. Also, I was in Manhattan on 9/11. We were essentially trapped as they closed all bridges and tunnels. I was in Midtown, and I just have never seen the city so empty. Literally like a ghost town. I sat in a small room hearing military and police helicopters for hours, thinking they were rescuing people, until my friend informed me via AIM that the towers had collapsed. We had no TV and not great internet, and I just couldn't fathom it. And then there were the people walking uptown covered head to toe in dust. The worst may have been when we got home. There was dust there too, and burnt pieces of office paper on the lawn. The air smelled of death. Back in junior high, I dated a girl for a brief 2 months. It didn't work out due to personal beliefs and such. Well, after we broke up, she became a stalker. However, I always dismissed it when my friends commented on it, since I was always thinking, what could this 4 feet 5 inches girl do to me really? Well, one day after school, I had an appointment nearby which was no more than a 15-minute walk from school. I walked there, rode the elevator up, went through the halls, and finished my dentist appointment within the hour. To my dismay, once I opened the door to leave the office after receiving a lollipop I eagerly waited for after each appointment, I found my ex sitting in front of the door. We looked at each other for about a minute until she just gave a subtle smile and began to get up. I never slammed the door as fast as I did that day. My mind was racing, trying to figure out how she managed to find me. I couldn't understand, since the whole time walking no one was behind me. I rode the elevator alone, and once I exited there were multiple doors along with numerous hallways on that floor. The office woman saw my panic and I explained the whole deal. She locked the door and contacted my family. Eventually her mother was contacted since my mother knew her as well. Long story short, turns out she skipped school, hung around a coffee shop I walked by daily pretty much, and followed me from afar unknown to me. She never told me how she managed to find the correct office or see what floor I got off at. It still sends chills down my spine thinking about it to this day. I got my first job the summer after I graduated high school at a rundown amusement park. I worked as an announcer at an old game and got to know a lot of employees, as it was one of the few shaded places to sit down. Within a few weeks, I noticed a janitor. He was an older gentleman, maybe in his 40s or 50s, and he would always sweep the doorstep of the game since it was my duty to keep the area clean. I would politely wave as he walked by, and that was that. Eventually he started coming by more often, offering to take out the trash and help clean. I accepted the help as I was often busy, but after a while my male co-workers and I noticed that he would pace the windows outside of my shop. He would walk back and forth waiting for me to acknowledge him, watching with his broom in his hand and cleaning spots that he had done an hour earlier. Once I counted him walking back and forth 8 times across my windows. Then he started learning my schedule. Somehow he was always taking his smoke break when I was coming in for my shift. He would be waiting on the corner smoking until he saw me and would walk up to my car so that he could walk me to work. That's when I realized a seemingly normal coworker was someone that was beginning to stalk me. I started having panic attacks and nightmares about this janitor that kept on meeting me. My male coworkers would note the way he watched me, and they began walking with me to and from my car at night. I saw him once at a gas station as I was pulling in, and he tried to come up to my car, so I left immediately. Then one day I spotted him from a distance beginning to come into my game area. I told my coworker I was going to hide, and I hid beneath one of the old machines in a back corner. I could hear my coworkers telling him that I left, and I could hear his footsteps as he walked around. Holding my breath, I saw his shoes stop in front of the machine I was hiding beneath, and he crouched down to my level with a smile. "You're hiding from me now?" he asked. Shortly after that incident, I decided to report him to my manager because I was 18 and unsure if what was happening was me projecting my own fears. She listened to me, with my coworkers confirming what happened, and she launched a small investigation. It turns out there were a few of us girls that the janitor decided he liked and began to follow. The youngest was 14, and I was 18. I was the first one to come forward and, upon hearing different stories, the janitor was fired from the park. To this day, I always have a sense of unease in the workplace, and a fear that a friendly coworker could be something far worse. And I will never forget the smile as he looked at me from under the machine, proud that he had found me when I was most afraid. I moved around a lot as a kid. We were the kind of family that would have boxes that would always go unopened and undisturbed between moves. My dad was a good guy but had issues with authority, so he usually had issues keeping a stable job for more than a year or so. When the lease was up, we'd move closer to his new job. Anyway, during one of these moves, my dad found a steal next to his job. It was an old 2-bed, 1-bath house with a detached garage, I want to say it was around $300 a month for rent in 2003. Apparently, it was in a rough part of town. The landlord told us, I won't go into the specifics, but I am required to tell you that someone had passed away in the house within the last 5 years. My dad saw a great deal and shrugged it off. We moved in soon after, and things started very quickly. There were noises in the house all the time. It was like we had other people living there. It would generally be noises that you'd expect when other people were around. Things like drawers opening and closing, doors swinging around on their own, water turning on in the bathroom and then back off. Nothing malicious was happening, so we just lived with it. Another weird quirk about the house was that the front door had a keyhole on both sides. So you could not leave the locked house unless you had the keys. You can probably guess where this is going, but not a week or so after we moved in, we lost the keys. Boxes still littered the house, and we were still in unpacking hell. So my dad, obviously stressed from the whole situation, started getting loud about the keys. He accused me of stealing them. He was cursing and being a general pain. Then, out of nowhere, we heard the keys hit the floor in the living room right in front of the couch. He picked them up, tried to rationalize what just happened, said "F it," and left the house for work. Over the next few months, those stupid keys were the center of the activity. My dad would put them in a glass bowl on top of our tube TV every day after work, and somehow they would be moved by morning. My favorite spot by far was when we found them in a sealed box of pots and pans that we needed to unpack. It had those little handle holes on the side of the box, and it's like someone just shoved them into the hole out of spite. We all got a good laugh out of that one. Right now you're probably like, okay, what's spine-chilling about some noises and some keys moving around? Well, here you go. The worst thing that happened fairly frequently was the stomping. Most nights around 2 o'clock to 3 a.m. there would be very heavy footsteps pacing in the hallway outside of our bedrooms. I confirmed with my dad when I was older that, yes, it kind of freaked him out too. We had been living in this place for about 8 months at this point, and I was probably around 8 years old. I heard the stomping one night and I just couldn't take it. I screamed out into the hallway, "Stop stomping around! I need sleep too, God damn it." 15 seconds of silence was abruptly interrupted by what sounded like a bull running full speed to my room. Then my door had 3 very aggressive slamming knocks, one after another. It was so loud my dad woke up and came to check on me. My stomach started to turn, and I suddenly felt like I had to use the toilet. I was frozen in bed when I heard my dad call out to me, "You okay, buddy?" from his bedroom. I mustered up the courage to head out to the hallway. As I got up, I could tell something wasn't right. I was shaking like a leaf and my bowels were trying to evacuate while I was walking. I ran as fast as I could to the toilet, but it did not help. There was a trail from about halfway between my bedroom and the toilet. And my poor dad, worried about my safety, followed me into the bathroom to figure out what the hell just happened. I explained everything, crying on the toilet, making a mess of myself and the house. I was embarrassed and terrified. After this, my dad told me, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, you can come sleep in my room."